Good evening. I would like to call to order the July 7th, 2020 Little Rock City Board of Directors meeting. We would like to welcome those that are in attendance, as well as those watching at home or streaming online. We'd also like to welcome Directors Hendricks, Richardson, Webb, Fordson, and Vice Mayor Wyrick, who are participating with us via video conferencing. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Director Hendricks. Director Richardson.
Here.
Director Webb.
Here.
Director Peck.
Here.
Director Hines.
Present.
Director Wright. Director Campiris. Director Fordson.
Here.
Director Adcock.
Present.
Vice Mayor Wyrick.
Present.
Mayor Scott.
Present. We'll now have an invocation from Director Cabby Peck.
Thank you, Mayor. Am I unmuted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, I'm not in the room. I'm here, but thank you for thinking I'm in the room. In these challenging and uncertain times, we come together as representatives of our city, and we ask for guidance, wisdom, and cooperation. We're reminded that in our differences, there is great strength. We don't all think the same way or believe the same things, yet we are linked by our common humanity and love for Little Rock. We must work together to move our community forward in a spirit of mutual respect and compassion. We embrace many traditions in our city. We're Christians and Jews, Muslims and Hindus, Buddhists, humanists, atheists, agnostics, unaffiliated, and so many other things. We're young and old and everything in between. We represent many races and many nationalities, and we run the gamut from liberal to conservative, and some of us are a bit of both. To be sure, we don't agree about everything, and we often feel fiercely protective about what we do believe. There's great passion in our beliefs, but there's one thing we all agree. We share the goal of making Little Rock the best place it can be for all of us. We come together each week to do the business of the city and to unite around this noble aim and common purpose. Regardless of your faith tradition, we ask that our words for peace and understanding be heard. Watch over our first responders and all city staff who tirelessly serve our community. And with unity, let us say, Amen.
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 Maybe I'll stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have 4 modifications for tonight's agenda. Item 1 is a resolution to ratify appointments to the Little Rock Advertising and Promotion Commission. Item M2 is a resolution to urge rental property owners and managers to cease and delay any eviction actions as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. Item M3 is an ordinance amending the boundaries and hours of the River Market Entertainment District. And item 4 is an ordinance to extend the current AT&T contract for the city's phone system. Is there a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment about item 2 before you vote on that.
Yes, sir.
There was a concern raised this afternoon about the language in section 3 of the resolution. And what happened is that in an attempt to get everything in there, I ended up cutting some out. So I wanted to read what Director Richardson's agreed the resolution on section 3 should say. It's a part of the resolution that deals with contact with debt collectors and credit agencies. It would now read, to the same end and in the same strongest possible terms, the Board of Directors urges that landlords of residential property, to the extent that a landlord of residential property has any such discretion, not report any late or unpaid rental payments or late fees incurred since the March 11, 2020 declaration of a state emergency because of the COVID-19 pandemic in order to avoid future economic hardship for renters of residential property adversely impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. So as you voted on it, that's what that section would actually be.
Thank you so much. There's been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Mayor, mine is an aye on 1, 3, and 4, and a no on 2.
Ayes have it.
Same for me, Mayor.
There's no reflected. There's a no reflected for item 2 from for Directors Hines and Adcock. Ayes have it.
Mayor, can I ask that M2 and M3 be held separate?
Yes, you may. M2 and M3 will be held separate by Director Hines. I will now move forward.
Mayor,
Clerk. Oh, sorry, Director. Vice Mayor Wyrick.
Yes, thank you. I apologize for butting in. I had my little hand up, but I wasn't recognized. On item 2, if you have rental property, residential or commercial, or if you rent property, did you recuse on item 2?
Did I recuse?
No, I'm asking, should we recuse on item 2?
No,
If you, Mr. Attorney.
No, the conflict of interest provisions deal with an actual financial benefit or impact upon a member of the governing body here, the Board of Directors. This resolution is not going to result in that. It's so there would be no need to recuse.
Okay,
If you
thank you
wish
very
to
much.
note that you've got such property, that would be appropriate under the ordinance.
Okay, I do have residential rental property.
Thank you for making that notification at the abundance of caution, Vice Mayor Wyrick. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read the consent agenda along with items M1 and 2.
It was separate.
Oh, except that's correct.
It's 1 and 4.
1 and 4. Sorry about that.
Where's the ordinance?
4 will be grouped.
Yes.
Okay. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Mark McClarty Ford for a total purchase price of $143,524 for the purchase of 4 Ford F-150 trucks and 1 Ford F-250 truck for the Public Works Solid Waste Division and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with River City Hydraulics, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $206,272.38 for a purchase of a Durapack 5000 rear loader for the Public Works Department, Solid Waste Division, and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Cisneros Family Construction Group in an amount not to exceed $57,717.60 for the Claybrook Road Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Redstone Construction Group in an amount not to exceed $177,942.60 for the Longleah Drive Culvert Replacement Project and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with D&J Red Iron and Aggregates Limited in an amount not to exceed $448,069.37 for the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with D&J Red Iron and Aggregates Limited in an amount not to exceed $114,816 for the Pecan Lake Drainage Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. A resolution to authorize the city manager to award a professional engineering service contract to Craft and Toll and Associates, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $72,000 for the design of the intersection improvements on Forsham Pike at Interstate 440 and the railroad crossing, and for other purposes, funding from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds. Resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Converge One at an annual cost of $55,685.70 plus applicable taxes and fees for the annual renewal of Cisco equipment maintenance for the city's core network infrastructure and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with Jimmy and Lisa Heron for the purchase of approximately 2 acres of land for use by the Little Rock Port Authority for economic prospect recruitment and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into a contract with Thomas R. HSL Family Revocable Trust and for the purpose of approximately 55 acre of land for the Little Rock Port Authority and economic prospect recruitment and for other purposes. A resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute any documents necessary to accept a quitclaim deed from the Little Rock Water Reclamation Authority and for other purposes. A resolution to approve a modification of the lease agreement between the City of Little Rock, Arkansas, the Little Rock Advertising and Promotion Commission, and FWH II Little Rock LLC to defer the rental payment due April 1st, 2020, July 1st, 2020, and October 1st, 2020 until 8 payments to be made in 2021 and 2022 to consider a further modification of terms of the lease agreement occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic and for other purposes. A resolution to ratify appointments to the Little Rock Advertising and Promotion Commission and for other purposes. That's the consent agenda.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
This motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. We'll now move into our citizens communication. Officer Ronnie Morgan with the Fraternal Order of Police.
Good evening, Mayor, board members. I come before you tonight to ask that you consider taking action to remedy a situation that exists with the Civil Service Commission presently. One of the commissioners, Mr. Akins Ali Bey, during a civil service hearing last year, asked several witnesses that were on the stand if they were familiar with the Constitution of the United States. When they answered him in the affirmative that they were, Mr. Ali Bey then asked them, are they aware that there are 2 constitutions to the United States? This is a common sovereign citizen ideology. Sovereign citizens generally do not believe that the laws of the land apply to them. You should have each received a police report in your email today where Mr. Ali Bey was pulled over by officers in October of last year for no tags and found to have no driver's license. When he was questioned about this, he told them that he was a Moorish citizen and the laws of the state of Arkansas did not apply to him, according to the incident report that was prepared by the officers. The Civil Service Commission was established by state law. They promulgate rules and regulations for the police and the fire department. They also certify the hiring and the promotion list for the police and fire department. All of this is given to them. This power is given to them by state law. They also hear appeals from officers and citizens in reference to discipline given to police officers. Mr. Akins Ali Bey's stated ideologies in a civil service hearing and when contacted by police calls into question his impartiality and his ability to sit in judgment of officers who are sworn to uphold these laws, and also the citizens who may come before that commission to appeal when they're required to follow those laws as well. I'm just asking that you would take into consideration to remedy this situation, and I'll stand for any questions if you have any.
Thank you so much, Officer Morgan. Mr. Carpenter, I believe, did you want to make a comment or not?
Mayor, the issue has been raised to our office once before, and it arose at that time in terms of a name change. I know that there were these concerns. It was literally just before this meeting that I learned that Mr. Bey has made a statement in court that he is not subject to the laws of the United States. My reaction was to immediately request that we get a transcript of that in order to be on a border commission. I do think you've got to follow the laws of the state of Arkansas and the laws of the United States, which would include the one constitution for each. And if in fact, and I haven't seen the transcript, so I wish to wait for that. If in fact that has been said in open court, and that's an admission, it's taken as the truth, it's different from hearsay statement in an arrest report. So it has to be taken as the truth, and Mr. Bay needs to be asked if he believes that. If the answer is yes, then I'm going to suggest that he be removed if he does not resign for nonfeasance.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Officer Morgan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right. We have one more citizens communication from a Miss Rachel Hale. I will read. My name is Rachel Hale, and I've been a resident of Little Rock, Ward 1, since 2010. Earlier today, I sent a similar email to the city board regarding my below concerns. I'll confess, I've spent most of my attention focusing on international and national affairs, but have realized I've deeply failed my community by not participating in local city level discussions and planning. My privilege is beyond evident by my lack of inaction. I'm going to do better, starting now. I'm addressing the board regarding my concerns about the fiscal year 2021 budget proposal and the Little Rock Police Department's overinflated budget. I urge you as our city leaders to move towards an ethical and equal reallocation of the city's expenditures away from LRPD and towards sectors that facilitate the dismantling of racial and class inequality. The recent approval of body cameras alone will not address the systemic racism of policing at its core, as it is evident in other cities who've attempted to address police brutality through reforms and failed. As we saw with the murder of George Floyd, police officers are not deterred by the mere presence of a video camera. This is Little Rock's opportunity to no longer be a part of the problem. We have a choice. Will we continue to support an unjust system, or will we move towards creative solutions to improve our community? As a Little Rock citizen, I plead to the board and our mayor to reallocate funding to the social sectors we have long neglected, including educational funding, social service programs such as Housing First and mental health first responder teams. There are evidence-based programs within the United States, i.e. Oregon, Washington, Denver, we can learn from and tailor to fit the unique needs of our community. The community must be brought to the table at the onset. We have community leaders willing and able to step up and develop and implement these programs in Little Rock. As someone who works within academia, I lean on research to inform my decisions. And what does research tell us? It shows that a living wage, access to holistic healthcare services and treatment, educational opportunities, and stable housing are far more successful at promoting community safety than police or prisons. As such, I demand more aggressive financial support to be directed to those areas. We have waited for the system to change, to be reformed, and Little Rock citizens will no longer wait. We demand change now. Justice will only be served when the police are defunded and their budget is reallocated to the social services, i.e. social workers highly trained to respond to the majority of the 911 calls that aim to improve the well-being of our community members. Please let Little Rock be on the right side of history. Thank you for allowing my comments to be heard tonight. Rachel Hale. Just check, make sure we don't have any more. Madam Clerk, would you please read the grouped items for the first time?
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a revised planned commercial district titled Saddle Creek Phase 2 Revised Short Form PCD located at the northeast corner of Cantrell Road and Ranch Boulevard, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a revised planned commercial district titled Chenal Park Center Short Form PCD located at 15100-15198 Chenal Parkway, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Kirkland Long Form PCD located at southwest corner of Chenal Parkway and Kirk Road, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map for the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled St. Bartholomew's Catholic Church, Paris Hall, short form POD, located at 1622 Marshall Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 20,012, August 4th, 2008, to revoke a planned commercial district titled John Barrow Neighborhood Association Open Air Market, short form PCD, to reclassify property located west of South University Avenue and south of West 32nd Street in Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned district residential titled Parkside at Wildwood Revised Long Form PDR, located south of Denny Road, east of Wildwood Place Circle, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned residential district titled Lot 9R in Arkansas Capitol View Edition, short form PERD, located at 321 Rice Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes. An ordinance to dispense with the requirement of a competitive selection process and to authorize the city manager to extend the current AT&T Plexar phone contract for one additional year in an amount not to exceed $64,776.96 plus applicable taxes and fees to allow for testing of new devices and installation to complete the upgrade of the city's voice-over internet phone system and for other purposes. First reading.
We suspend the rules and place on second reading.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
Mayor, can you do something about the noise?
Yes. Mr. Wendell.
I think it's Director Hendricks.
Yeah, it's cut.
She's got her mic on.
I'll call. Second reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a revised planned commercial district titled Saddle Creek Phase 2, revised short form PCD, located at the northeast corner of Cantrell Road and Ranch Boulevard. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a revised planned commercial district titled Chenal Park Center, short form PCD, located at 15100-15198 Chenal Parkway. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Kirkland Long Form PCD, located at southwest corner of Chenal Parkway and Kirk Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled St. Bartholomew's Catholic Church, Parish Hall, short form POD, located at 1622 Marshall Street. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 20,012, August 4th, 2008, to revoke a planned commercial district titled John Barrow Neighborhood Association Open Air Market, short form PCD, to reclassify property located west of South University Avenue and south of West 32nd Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned district residential titled Parkside at Wildwood Revised Long Form PDR, located south of Denny Road, east of Wildwood Place Circle. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned residential district titled Lot 9R in Arkansas Capitol View Edition, short form PRD, located at 321 Rice Street. An ordinance to dispense with the requirement of a competitive selection process and to authorize the city manager to extend the current AT&T Plexar phone contract for one additional year at an amount not to exceed $64,776.96 plus applicable taxes and fees to allow for the testing of new devices and installation to complete the upgrade of the city's voice-over internet phone system. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a revised planned commercial district titled Saddle Creek Phase 2, revised short form PCD, located at the northeast corner of Cantrell Road and Ranch Boulevard. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a revised planned commercial district titled Chenal Park Center, short form PCD, located at 15100-15198 Chenal Parkway. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned commercial district titled Kirkland Long Form PCD, located at the southwest corner of Chenal Parkway and Kirk Road. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled St. Bartholomew's Catholic Church, Parish Hall, short form POD, located at 1622 Marshall Street. An ordinance to repeal ordinance number 20,012, August 4th, 2008, to revoke a planned commercial district titled John Barrow Neighborhood Association Open Air Market, short form PCD, to reclassify property located west of South University Avenue and Southwest 32nd Street. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned district residential titled Parkside at Wildwood Revised Long Form PDR, located at south of Denny Road, east of Wildwood Place Circle. An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned residential district titled Lot 9R in Arkansas Capitol View Edition, short form PRD, located at 321 Rice Street. An ordinance to dispense with the requirement of a competitive selection process and to authorize the city manager to extend the current AT&T Plexar phone contract for 1 additional year in an amount not to exceed $64,776.96 plus applicable taxes and fees to allow for the testing of new devices and installation to complete the upgrade of the city's voice over and internet phone system. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. Any the city board members that was LRTV. Now that we've had 3 readings, are there any more questions? Any questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please read item 20 for the first time?
A resolution to authorize the city manager to enter into a contract with Shields and Associates in an amount not to exceed $2,439,329.41 for the 12th Street Jumpstart Improvement Project and for other purposes, funding from the Arkansas Department of Transportation and the city match from the 3/8 cent capital improvement sales tax and the limited tax general obligation capital improvement bonds.
Do we have a motion to approve this?
I have a question.
Director Adcock?
Yes, I would like to have a short presentation on this because in the past we've had lots of citizens questions about this. I'd like to make sure that we have a short presentation tonight.
Yes, Director Honeywell.
What?
Good evening, Mayor, board members. Director Adcock, this project is a project that the city's doing in conjunction with the Highway Department and Metro Plan. It is a project where we'll be doing improvements to drainage, streetscape, sidewalks for Pine and Cedar Streets from 12th Street to, I believe, 14th Street. It's that corridor that runs north and south, basically from the police station at 12th Street, north towards the interstate and UAMS.
Would you give a little bit more detail about exactly what type of improvements it's going to be?
Yes, there'll be, we're trying to entice it as a more pedestrian-friendly corridor. So you'll have business that wants to relocate into those particular buildings that are along that corridor. You'll have wider sidewalks. You'll have more vegetation that's included as part of that. Underground drainage will be improved. So it's more of not the road itself, but it's everything on the edges of the road that we're going through there and completely redoing and improving for that corridor on both of those streets.
I know that we had a citizens group that worked with this. Have they looked at this and have they approved this?
That's my understanding, yes.
I guess that concerns me when you say it's your understanding. Was your staff involved with presenting this to the neighborhood people that was on that committee?
Yes, we had public meetings where this entire project was presented to anyone that wanted to come and see.
And to this end here.
Yes, ma'am. For the project that we're actually talking about, the contract, not that, we had public meetings where we showed the actual drawings and all the work that was going to be done as a project.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
What exactly do I say, question mark?
Director Wright, did you have a question? All right. Seeing no other questions? How to get the dog, but seeing no other questions, there's a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please read item 21?
Okay.
A resolution to create the South on Main Soma Temporary Entertainment District for 8 consecutive weeks, starting on July 7th, 2020, and for other purposes.
Move for the adoption resolution.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, item number 22 for the first time.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled The Residences at Petaway Short Form POD located at 2020 Vance Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes, first reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled The Residences at Petaway Short Form POD located at 2020 Vance Street. Second reading.
Move to suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned office district titled The Residences at Petaway Short Form POD located at 2020 Vance Street. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. Are there any questions? Director Hendricks.
I'm talking now. Is this Ward 1 or Ward 2?
1.
No, it's not. My property does not go all the way up to 12th Street.
We're on item.
That needs to be corrected. Ken is sitting there. He knows that that's not my ward. We're talking about what Director Honeywell did.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're referring to the previous with Director Honeywell.
Came to when Honeywell.
Yes, I believe the jump start is in Director Richardson's ward, and this is in this current ordinance number 22 is in your ward.
Okay, what does 22 talk about?
22 discusses the planned zoning development in regards to the residents at Petaway.
Okay.
Multifamily project.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that. I support that. I'm talking about.
You support that?
The thing
yes,
down by yes, I support Petaway.
Yes, ma'am.
That project. And before you close the meeting down, I need to go back to that resolution, and I support Director Richardson, but I've got some comments on that.
Yes, ma'am. We'll get back. We'll get to that shortly.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please read item 23?
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned industrial district titled McLean Loft Short Form PID located at 1020 East 6th Street, Little Rock, Arkansas, amending the official zoning map of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, and for other purposes, first reading.
We suspend the rules and place on second reading.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned industrial district titled McLean Loft, short form PID, located at 1020 East 6th Street. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to approve a planned zoning development and establish a planned industrial district titled McLean Loft, short form PID, located at 1020 East 6th Street. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. Are there any questions? Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please read item 24 for the first time?
An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas ordinance number 21,761, July 23rd, 2019, to increase the amount of time a temporary entertainment district is allowed to exist, to declare an emergency and for other purposes. First reading.
We suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and second. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas ordinance number 21,761 to increase the amount of time a temporary entertainment district is allowed to exist, to declare an emergency. Second reading.
Mr. Director.
Place on third reading.
We'll go to the third reading, but we will get to you, Director. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading. Then we'll go to Director Adcock before a vote.
An ordinance to amend Little Rock, Arkansas ordinance number 21,761 to increase the amount of time a temporary entertainment district is allowed to exist, to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
Question from Director Adcock.
Yes, I would like some information on what extension this is requesting, how long of an extension, and what would be the qualifications for a person to request that extension.
Mr. Moore, I can vaguely do it, but do you have any more specifics?
Sure, and I think Tom has the actual details, but this allows us, okay, this is a temporary, okay. This will, I don't know, Jamie, when we did this a few weeks ago, the board authorized these type of districts, and this is the first one to come forward. And I think Director Collins will have the specific details for this.
I'm sorry about that, Mr. Moore.
Director Adcock, members of the board, Mayor, what this is in the original ordinance, it set a maximum number of 5 days that a temporary entertainment district can exist. And then you could reapply, but it had to be a new application, and it could only happen 24 hours after that. In doing this Dine Out initiative, what we found is we had an area that they could have applied for that and come before the board, but in extending that time frame, it would have been multiple applications. So what this ordinance does, it revises that to give somebody a maximum of 120 days request, but it does not say that the board cannot ask for or approve something different. That's just a maximum days. It can be less. It's up to that many days. So this just allows an opportunity for an area to have a temporary entertainment district for more than 5 days consecutive without having to come back before the board with another application for the same area.
But 120 days, why did we set that large of amount?
Well, as I explained, that was just up to 120 days, and that allowed for, especially for times like right now in this pandemic, if they're wanting to have an area inside a temporary entertainment district to dine out, it allows to kind of go through the summertime more than just a 15 days or a 30 days. It allows it up to a maximum, and I want to emphasize that, a maximum set by the board. So they can apply for it, but it is still up to the board for approval of those days.
So each one has to come before the board for
Yes,
approval?
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing no other questions, all those in favor, please say, sorry. Director Peck, Director Peck. Sorry about that. Director Peck.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make a comment how supportive I am for these temporary entertainment districts. This means so much to our economy, and Restaurants are near and dear to my heart. It's been very effective, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other creative things we can do in our city to keep our small restaurants in business. And I did read one interesting article about some of the European nations who are doing a lot better job of dealing with the pandemic than we are. And a lot of it is outdoor dining in the fresh air. It's much safer to eat outdoors than indoors. So I couldn't be more supportive. So thank you, the board. And thank you for your questions, Joan. They're important too. Thank you, Mayor.
My pleasure, Director Peck. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Motion passes.
Emergency clause.
Mr. Moore.
I want to clarify something.
We're going to get a clarification before we go towards the emergency clause.
Is this starting July 10th?
Director, excuse me, Director Webb is trying to get your attention.
While we wait, Director Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Somebody just texted me and said that the YouTube had gone out. Let me.
It's back on.
Okay, thank you.
We had some technical difficulties. Mr. Moore, or do we need Mr. Collins? Or?
I think we can go ahead and pass the emergency clause.
All right. Motion is second for the emergency clause.
It's not, you just vote on it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, if you would, please read item number 25 for the first time.
An ordinance to create an Article 5 to Chapter 18 of the Little Rock, Arkansas Revised Code of Ordinances to establish an enhanced penalty for certain misdemeanors that qualify as a hate crime or as a hate intimidation and for other purposes. First reading.
Is there a motion and a second?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to create an Article 5 to Chapter 18 of Little Rock, Arkansas Revised Code of Ordinances to establish an enhanced penalty for certain misdemeanors that qualify as a hate crime or as a hate intimidation. Second reading.
To suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to create an Article 5 to Chapter 18 of the Little Rock, Arkansas Revised Code of Ordinances to establish an enhanced penalty for certain misdemeanors that qualify as a hate crime or as a hate intimidation. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. We have a question from Director Hines, then Director Webb. Director Hines.
Thank you. Tom, we had a discussion earlier before the session started as to who would prosecute this article, and you told me that it would be between your office and the Pulaski County Prosecutor's Office, correct?
Yes, the prosecutor has given my office authority over certain traffic offenses, but not carte blanche prosecutorial authority. So they would have to do the underlying misdemeanor or give us authority for it, and then they would depend upon us to prosecute the ordinance violation.
Okay. So you told me that there was the possibility of, if that wasn't worked out, of a double jeopardy?
Yes, there is the double jeopardy provision of the Fifth Amendment and of Article 2 of the Arkansas Constitution guarantees that nobody is put twice at trial for the same matter. So we'd have to coordinate to make sure that they actually came forward at the same time.
Okay. Then another question as I'm reading through the ordinance. So in section, and I just want to make sure everybody's clear because I'm going to ask a pretty pertinent question. Talks about person 18 years or older violates this article by reason of actual perceived race, color, creed, religion, ancestry, gender identity, sexual orientation, physical or mental disability, or national origin of another individual or group of individuals, regardless of the existence of any other motivating factor or factors, the person commits any of the following misdemeanors under state law. So if somebody comes up to me and says, you're a white cracker racist and assaults me, would that be a hate crime?
Director Hines, I guess the only way I can answer that is that these offenses really have to be judged on a case-by-case basis, and you've got to look at all the details. I mean, if you're having a beer with a buddy during a Razorback game and he makes that comment to you and then later gets upset about something and slugs you, no. If, on the other hand, y'all get into a heated argument or into an argument and it escalates and he makes that statement and it hits you, yeah, that probably would qualify.
Okay. When we go down to a person defacing, mars, desecrates, or otherwise damages a public monument, a work of art, or display on a public place of worship, a cemetery, a burial, a monument. So if somebody was to put the Black Lives Matter logo or Antifa on a Christian church, would that apply as a hate crime?
Yes, probably so.
Okay, I just want to make sure that this applies both ways in passages. Thank you.
Director Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't really have a question. I'll just would like to make a couple of brief remarks. And I have some statistics that discuss what Director Hines was, that were related to his questions. And I'd be happy to share share those statistics with anybody. But I appreciate Mr. Carpenter answering those questions. We mentioned this at the meeting last week that we spent over a year drafting this, and I appreciate the time that Mr. Carpenter put into it. We had the assistance of attorneys from the Anti-Defamation League, ADL, who have helped other cities and states that don't have hate crimes, state hate crimes laws. We had input from the city manager. We had input from the mayor's office. And we worked really hard to make something that we thought would be important for Little Rock. We know that while there are over 7,000 hate crimes a year that are reported nationally, that the vast majority of hate crimes are not reported. You may have seen that there's a resolution on the Hot Springs City Council agenda tonight to encourage the state to pass a hate crimes bill. This is a nonpartisan issue. South Carolina is one of the states that does not have a state law, and there are a number of cities that have passed municipal hate crimes ordinances, and I would simply ask for a good vote. Thank you.
We've had 3 readings and questions have been asked. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Director Webb, I want to just take this time of personal privilege just to commend you on shepherding this ordinance for the past at least a year, maybe more, for quite some time, and really working to get it in this particular fashion. It's my belief that this will serve as a model piece of legislation ordinance for other Arkansas cities. I just want to say thank you to that, and thank you for your leadership. We'll now move to item number 20.
Mayor?
Yes.
It's BJ. I just want to raise an issue. It's not in regards to the last ordinance, but I've noticed as we've been going through these ordinances on the 3 readings, that the microphone has not been turned on for the first or second reading, but has been turned on for the 3rd reading. And as you know, there's a parliamentary procedure for each one of those readings. So whoever's in charge of the microphone needs to have the microphone on so you can get an accurate sense of the votes as we go from 1 reading to the 2nd reading to the 3rd reading.
Thank you so much for that feedback, Vice Mayor.
I have a comment. I have a comment. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, the information that was read just a moment ago by Kathy, is this the information that I had asked for and never got it? I don't just believe in voting on something somebody read to me that I haven't seen, particularly when it deals with race. I don't think there's nobody on that board as serious and as conscientious about race as Irma Hendricks for the last 50 years. That's what I've done. And I resent that because I asked for that information. I never received it. And I'm talking about what Kathy Webb just read.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we apologize. I thought that was sent
No, I don't want you to apologize. I think this, I don't know whether anybody else is concerned about reading it, but I'm not a child. You don't just read 2 or 3 lines to me and think I'm going to accept that.
Yes, ma'am.
Were there any blacks working on that committee?
It's not a committee.
Oh, it isn't?
No, it's not a task force at all.
She had visited with some individuals, or what is that? Come on, I'm not going to sit here and be shy about nothing.
Yes, ma'am.
I think I want to see, is nothing in writing?
We'll get you Mr. Carpenter, can we get Director Hendricks the ordinance?
I think everybody ought to have it.
I have it.
Mr. Moore.
Director Hendricks, you did send an email requesting the.
No, I talked to the mayor. I've even emailed Kathy.
No.
But
so this is something different?
If I could clarify, there was a revision that was made, and the copy or the revised ordinance went out with the agenda on Friday, just as we normally do. So that was when you asked for the information, it was just attached to the agenda item.
And
what's your topic? What topic are you talking about, Bruce?
There was also a formatting change that was made yesterday.
And I'm talking and Bruce is talking.
This is Tom, and there was a formatting change yesterday. That's the one I thought.
Tom, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. I've said what I had to say. So thank you, Mayor, for listening.
Yes, ma'am. And again, we apologize.
No, it was sent to her. I can't apologize for that.
Tom, you know that your stuff never did come through until today.
We will now move to item number 26. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 26?
Yeah, I don't need to hear all that stuff.
An ordinance to extend the existing contract with Waste Management of Arkansas to provide curbside recycling services within the corporate limits of the city of Little Rock, Arkansas, to declare it impractical and unfeasible to bid for an additional 3 years on the contract, to authorize entry into a contract with Waste Management of Arkansas to provide curbside recycling for solid waste customers until March 31st, 2024, to declare an emergency and for other purposes. First reading or second reading. Sorry.
Is there a motion and a second? Motion and a second. Is there a motion and a second? It now fails due to second. Mr. Moore, what is we'll move to next week for two weeks for a 3rd reading. So we have a 2nd reading and we'll move to a 3rd reading ultimately for a vote. And I think we do have, since we did have some individuals to come in for item do
we want to go ahead and read item 27 too, Mayor?
Yes, let me read item 27 as well. I know we have some people here for this, so Item 27.
An ordinance to amend portions of provisions of Little Rock, Arkansas Rev Code, Chapter 28, Article 1, 2828, as to the collection of fees, second reading.
All right. Is there a motion?
I think I'm okay. You don't have to wait.
Mayor,
Director Wright?
I'm not making a motion.
Okay.
You got a question?
This is connected with.
Yes, 26 and 27 are connected together. And so what has happened, we read it 2 weeks ago, I believe 2 weeks ago. And so this is now the second reading. So with parliamentary procedure at our next board meeting, which will be July the 21st, we will have a third reading. And then after that third reading, there will be a vote by the board of directors on whether to move forward. Now, I do believe we do have members that are here to speak for and against, and so we will allow that time. So when we come back on the 21st, and or if there is a special called meeting for this particular vote because of time constraints, so there's a possibility for a special called meeting that can be anytime after today or July the 21st. And so again, as we shared, this decision has an impact on other cities, not just the city of Little Rock. Mr. Ward, any comments?
So we are amending portions of our code to increase. Is that what this? We have to do this just to increase the fee? The amendment?
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
The new fee, not because this would go into effect, I believe, April of 21. And so, again, I want to just make sure every board member is aware that now that we have a third opportunity, the third reading will be a vote, and there could be a special call meeting between now and the 21st because this decision has impact on the region. Item 26, we have, I will read item 26 from Letitia Hugler. And again, I'm reading emails, so please. I say no to any type of increase of recycling fees. I already feel I do a large part of their job. I wash any container, remove paper labels, break down any type of boxes or cut up to manageable sizes, make sure there isn't any plastic that might clog the grinders, be it too small or stringy. What more would they like? Bring it to them, stand and sort it out, then bundle it up so they can get paid for it. I don't ask my customers to do my work before I get on their lawns. Also, my husband is disabled and we got a whopping 1.3% raise this year, if I remember correctly, but our health insurance took that plus more. Come on, how can we call ourselves a recycle city when they want to be paid to shred it, then haul it to a landfill? We have grandchildren that I would like to set an example of a good steward of our precious earth. Please vote no to this disgrace. Thank you for your service. That is Letitia Hugler.
What ward does she live in?
I don't think she shared her ward. She did not share her ward.
I make them button me stuff. They can tell me where they live.
Mr. Little?
Thank you, Mayor and Directors. I just wanted to state again that this addition, one, there's two options, with and without glass. And if glass is added back in, not only will it reduce the amount of material of glass being recycled, it will reduce the overall amount of material being recycled per the numbers that have been put out on the market. So I would implore that if we have to make an extension to this contract, that we leave glass out, because it will be taking a step backward for our city and costing our citizens money that will not be put to good use. Mm-hmm. So I would just state that I just ask that y'all consider that in this process, that there are a number of options, not just one.
Thank you so much, Mr. Little, and do appreciate your commitment to the city of Little Rock. Mm-hmm. All right, we will now move to item M1. M2, sorry.
A resolution to strongly urge owners and managers of residential rental property to cease current eviction actions and to delay future eviction actions pending a significant decrease in unemployment because of the COVID-19 pandemic and for other purposes.
They're bringing it back up, is that right? Because he was at the very first.
Are there any questions?
Is that
Director Adcock?
Yes, Mr. Moore and Mr. Carpenter, I have a question for each one of them.
All right, we got Director Adcock, then Director Hendricks.
Mr. Carpenter, is there any teeth into this?
That's what I want to know.
To the extent that the moral authority of the board is making an encouragement to the citizens of Little Rock, yes.
Is there any way to enforce this?
There is no sanction.
Mr. Moore, is there any teeth in this?
I would echo Mr. Carpenter's comments, Director Adcock.
Okay, this is something that we're giving false hope to people who are in a very sad situation. We're sitting up here passing something that makes them think that we're really doing something. Secondly, for people who owns these properties, let it be a couple who is using this money to support themselves on, we're giving them hope. We're giving them fear, I'm sorry. We're telling them that we're going to do something when we're not. And it's going to make all of us feel so good because we're doing this when we know it cannot be enforced and when we know that there's no teeth in it. The governor has already passed something similar to this, asking landlords to be kind and be considerate. And we have not addressed people who's having their homes foreclosed on them. We're just doing rental property, and we're doing it just to make ourselves feel good and to give false hope to people and cause fear to other people. I will not be supporting this. I don't come up here to pass things that makes no sense, that has no purpose, and does not improve the citizens of the city's lives. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much, Director Adcock. Director Hines?
No, I think it was Director Hendricks.
Oh, that's correct. You're correct, Director Hendricks.
Y'all don't want
Then
me
Director Hines.
Director. Are you ready for me to speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I support what Director Richardson has brought forward, but my concern, I think I tried to get in the minute this thing was read. And Tom has already answered it. It's nothing we can do. You know what I'm saying? So what is this all about? I don't care if you're black or white. I'm gonna tell you like it is. This resolution has no impact on landlords. Okay, so you might as well really. But I get with Ken. It just doesn't. I just don't vote for anything. I think all of you know that. That's my comment.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
Let me ask Tom again. Tom, what can you do about it? I'm talking to Tom.
About it? Was that did I hear you right? What can I do about it?
Yeah, is there anything that you can put? Can you prepare for us an ordinance that would have impact where the law or whomever would say to the landlord, this is what you can or cannot do to these tenants? And I don't want to put everything on COVID. You know, people have been doing all this stuff before the disease came. So don't put that on the disease. This stuff was happening before we had a COVID, okay? And if people don't straighten up, God's going to show you what COVID is all about. I'm through talking.
Yes, ma'am. Director Hines, then Director Richardson.
Yes, Bruce and Tom and fellow board members, the biggest issue I have with this is the last minute nature of this being put on our agenda with no curing period. If the director wants to bring this, we could have brought it in due time and been on our next agenda in 2 weeks. Because of that matter, I'm going to make a motion to defer this till our next meeting in July.
And I'll second that.
I want to give folks time to get some input on people that are property owners and that type of stuff before we rush through something that I think is going to create confusion out there that folks don't think they have to pay their rent.
Yeah, I've got a question.
And just from a
Motion and a second, Mayor.
before, just the parliamentary procedures, because we had some other questions before that motion. Is it appropriate to let Director Richardson speak and then go back to the vote?
No.
Okay. All right, there's been a motion on the floor to defer into the July 21st board meeting. There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay.
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 Ayes have it. This ordinance M2 will be deferred until July the 21st. Believe, do we have, is it M4?
M4.
Mr. Mayor.
No, M3.
M3. Director Richardson.
Yes, I thank you for recognizing me, sir, and I thank the fellow colleagues for the concerns and their questions. I'd like to remind us that in 2008, during a recession, we passed a similar resolution unanimously asking for a foreclosure from Little Rock lenders and subprime mortgage companies for foreclosure, moratorium on foreclosures at the same rate, at the same speed, the same due process, and we passed that unanimously. Now, this is not a case of giving people false hope. This is giving a case of recognizing that we have concern. Back to Director Peck's invocation is that we want to make the best city for all. I don't think any one of us want to increase our homeless population, which the current population is challenging enough. And I'm concerned that a lot of these people we're talking about are marginalized children, youth, and families who are living hand to mouth. And I don't think we want to send a suggestion or the message that we're concerned with certain segments of our community. We did the same way, same thing the same way, some 12 years ago. So I'm somewhat baffled by this approach and or concerns. I think that it's clear to us that we need to, and we know it doesn't have any teeth. Tom knows it, we all know it's a resolution. It expresses an intent or concern from our city or a particular segment of our city. And I think to that end, we've done that to those who were homeowners back in 2008 during a recession. It was based on a recession. We passed that unanimously. This is fashioned similarly with respect to those who are low income, and COVID has a different impact on a number of us. It's impacting how we're having meetings. It's impacting how we do job training. So we need to recognize that, Director Henry, that it's having some impact, and we cannot pretend like it is not. And that is not giving anybody false hope. It's not telling anybody they can't pay their rent. It's putting us on the record saying that we do have a concern about this and this population.
Thank you so much, Director Richardson. Director Wright.
My concern with this, and once I have a chance to mull it over a little bit longer, I'm sure I can find a way to support it, Director Richardson. I have some vulnerable properties in Ward 6. One of them I deal with pretty closely, and matter of fact, I spoke to the manager on yesterday, and my call was prompted because I got a voicemail message on my home phone from a company out of New York, where a resident of Ward 6 had apparently filled out an online form seeking help. And one of the things that was stated in there that they were facing eviction. Well, of course, immediately I responded back and told them to let me speak with the apartment manager. I recognized the address because it's one I've been to a number of times. And when I called there, the person was not even on the lease. It wasn't even a person that lived there as a part of the lease. But I got to that once I started drilling down into what was really going on. And one of the questions I spoke with the manager about, Mayor, was, are you evicting people? And she said, no. She said, we have a lot of people that owe a lot of money here, but we have no pending court cases at this time, and we are not about to bring any. And I said, well, when you start doing that again, can you please let me know? And she said, yes, I can do that. But I can tell you, she said, we're not doing that right now. So we have some landlords that are in a position where they are withholding evictions. this particular situation, you know, we're dealing with that in a different way because that person was just living with somebody else. But I said all that to say that there would be some confusion, I feel, by this if we don't make it clear. I don't mind sending a message to our community that we would like you to be as generous as you can, but property owners have rights too. And if they're gonna lose their property, and I have one I gotta meet with the city manager about because I learned something else over the weekend about one that might close. Well, where are those people gonna go? And it's a over rent. So it's a double-edged sword. And like I said, I don't have a problem once I can mold this over a little bit more, sending a message, but I want to make sure that there's clarity there. And that's all, that's my reservation about it.
Thank you so much. Director Richardson?
Yes, thank you, Director Wright. I think it's interesting because this problem is most prevalent in wards 2 and 6, and most likely to happen in wards 2 and 6. And I think it's clearly an attempt for us. It has no legal authority. We know that. We knew that back in 2008 during the recession. I think it's an attempt for the city to put on record that we explicitly are concerned about all of our city, all of our citizens, as Director Peck mentioned in her invocation. So I think it's an opportunity for us to put on record that we're concerned for the marginalized children, youth, and families. Those without any kind of backup are most likely going to be in our homeless population. And with COVID having so many impacts on so many different levels of living, I just thought it'd be the right thing to do and the right message to come from the city.
Director Hines, then Director Hendricks.
No, I can't vote.
I would say that I don't think we're far off on this. I just...
Director Hendricks, Director Hines has the mic, and then we're going to come straight to you.
Yeah, I know, but I was on there before he was. I'm not going to go ahead on. I haven't been drinking. I don't drink.
Yes, ma'am. Director Hines.
I don't think we're far off, and I think we do care. I think we need some engagement from some of our landlords and our folks that have residential properties to engage them more so we can come up with a better cohesive statement and for them to voice their concerns about what this resolution means and what it does not mean. The fact that this was put on our agenda tonight does not give those parties time to get down here. Most of them just found out about it as I did late this afternoon when I looked at the changes to our agenda that were proposed. So I feel very confident that in 2 weeks we'll be able to get there.
All right. Director Hendricks.
Director Richardson, no, I support the idea, but again, what impact can this resolution have on landlords? I don't believe in wasting time.
Well, Director Hendricks,
just one person, you know what I mean?
Well,
I talked to Ken about this before it was even presented. Okay?
Director Hendricks.
No, I don't want to talk to you, Ken. I'm talking to the mayor, and whatever I'm saying, just let it go for record and just forget it, and whatever you all want to do.
Well, I just want to remind us, and Lance, you weren't here in 2008, we took the same kind of process to move forward. Back in
what happened? What happened?
Recession. And we passed the resolution unanimously. Staff recommended approval, and we passed it unanimously after Joan had a question from Gene about, if he had any concerns from a banking standpoint. I think Gene validated and supported it, and we passed it based on Gene's support of it unanimously.
Bruce, stop. Did you see Bruce clapping his hand? Go on, Mayor. You let Ken come in on my message. I'm through with it.
Yes, ma'am. I saw Bruce nodding his head too.
No, Bruce.
I'm sorry.
It's a waste of time. I believe in doing stuff that's going to be effective. Not junk.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear me, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Director Richardson. M3.
Ain't nothing.
An ordinance to amend the boundaries and hours of the permanent River Market Entertainment District to declare an emergency and for other purposes. First reading.
We suspend the rules and place on second reading.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Second reading.
An ordinance to amend the boundaries and hours of the permanent River Market Entertainment District to declare an emergency. Second reading.
We suspend the rules and place on third and final reading.
There's a motion second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Third reading.
An ordinance to amend the boundaries and hours of the permanent River Market Entertainment District to declare an emergency. Third and final reading.
We've now had 3 readings. Question from Director Hines.
Bruce, can we get a presentation on this? I thought we just went back and changed the hours of the River Market last year. Am I having deja vu all over again, or
we actually established it last year?
Okay.
And this now comes back to expand the boundaries a little further east and pick up the River Market Plaza, and then also change the hours to be consistent with other entertainment districts.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. I was having a little case of deja vu.
Thank you. Director Adcock, did you have a question?
Yes. Ms. Mayor, how are we going to enforce this with our police officers? It's going to be a wider area, so how many police officers are we going to have to add to the River Market area to cover all this?
We believe, we don't have that specific number. We can get you that, but we do know that the Little Rock Police Department has been briefed and they stand ready to cover.
Well, we just got 5 more COP officers in Southwest Little Rock, and I sure do not want to lose any of them.
You won't.
I will keep you on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Emergency clause.
All those in favor of the emergency clause, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. M4.
We already.
All right. We'll now, a motion to go in executive session to review the appointments for the Land Bank, MacArthur Park, and Historic Museum.
So moved.
Motion second. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Director Hendricks. We're going to go to executive session, Director Hendricks.
Oh, you're getting ready to go into executive?
Yeah, executive session.
Okay, I want to have
all right. LRTV, if you will secure the video conferencing for executive session, and then we'll secure the room. board is back from the executive session, and I will call the meeting now to order. We have appointed to the Little Rock Port Authority Stan Hastings, and to the MacArthur Military Museum Bruce Wesson. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say hey. Nay. Ayes have it. There's nothing else for this meeting. A motion to yeah, get it all. Yeah. Moved. Any questions? No questions. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Adjourn.
There's a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, support.